Welcome to the Savage Productions YouTube channel. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Savage Productions YouTube channel. We're going to be working on this 427 here today. Also going to be working on the old Back to Life 304 build just a little bit. We have a coolant leak we need to fix on that thing before we can give it back to the customer. But for this thing, we're actually going to be putting some of the engine components on here in a little bit. Somebody didn't buy the clutch yet, so we can't put the transmission in there. So we need to, we're going to go ahead and put the headers on, or at least in there, so that they're not in the way, or nothing else that we put on is going to be in the way. We're going to put the AC bracket on. Power steering has to go behind this bracket. Can't do the alternator. God, yeah, that's nice. Can't do the alternator because Dad's going to take it and get it rebuilt. But the bracket's on. I mean, the idler we need to get a bolt for, and then we might do the radiator and the fan, Mishimoto electric fan controller that we got. We might do the lower intake. We also have the new valve covers that are going on it. We can't use these because of how the holes are set up. We have those, so we're going to put those on there. We're going to get to that in a bit. We got some parts sitting here on the little cart and some other stuff over there. So here are the headers that we're doing. These are BBK. Yeah. It's all that we could really find that wasn't going to be a major pain and major expense for the 351 swap. And then as far as this car, if you all don't know, it's a 304 build that we took the engine out, rebuilt the engine. What did we just put? Pistons in it, stock rods and cam, or stock rods and crank in it, and trick flow top end kit. The 11R heads with the cam, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. Sounds awesome, man. Really radical. We had on this whole build, it was basically somebody had it stripped for a drag car, so everything had to go back in. It had absolutely nothing in here. So we put it all back with AC and everything. We had to pretty much mount everything back. And the starter solenoid that he had was bad, so I just put a new one on. I got to put the wires back on. All the wires were cut back here, so we got to pick the two wires out for the AC pressure switch. Yep. We got to put a pigtail on that, get a pressure switch on it, so we can run the AC. Got to fix the clutch switch, and then this tube, this brand new heater hose tube on these Fox bodies. It's from LMR, and it's leaking. There's an O-ring that's supposed to be in here. I'm not sure if the O-ring is missing because it's just pouring coolant out. So we got to remove all of this to get this out, and I want to take it apart and see if we can fix that. Just put another O-ring in it. Yep. And we're going to get rid of this. This is he got this as well. This is an LMR cold air kit.
Oh yeah, are we going to do the 3.5 inch Anderson power pipe?
Yeah, we're going to do the Anderson power pipe, and so we have to put a hole in here and all of this. This is actually a Pro N, which really works well, man. I tell you, it's good for the 36-pound injectors. Right. And it idles great, no surging. So all that's going to be out here with a filter on the end of it once we do the Anderson power pipe.
We'll have to figure out how we can mount a bracket. Probably some of those holes in the frame down there.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
They cut all that stuff out. We
got to put his park brake cables on, and we have to get the rear end all squared away because the torque boxes, the passenger side upper torque box was ripped completely out. You can see where they pushed it back in and actually welded it. So the rear end is sitting in there at an angle now because the whole, you remember you actually seen it, you can see where it's all damaged behind the seat. Right. So there's no straightening that out, so it's got adjustable uppers, and we're gonna adjust it to where the rear end is square. Right. And hopefully we won't have to put adjustable lowers on, but it's pretty bad right now, so we got to do that for him. And
it's got a nice little stance though with those wheels.
Yeah.
So what, these are the 10.5 inch wide?
Yeah, they're actually 10.5 by 17.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a job to get these to fit right. We pretty much have the perfect tire on here, and then we needed, what is that, a 1/4 inch spacer?
Yeah, because these wheels are not the right
offset.
Yeah, they're not the right back spacing.
Or yeah,
He
that's right.
bought these wheels brand new from a guy. Somebody had them. Supposedly they bought them for their Fox Body, and that's why they turned around and sold them to. And he bought them not knowing.
Yeah.
But
well, he's lied to.
Yeah,
Happens.
So, but we got them to fit. I mean, we pretty much when we put them on, we checked them all out. We went with a nice 1/4-inch spacer, and we didn't actually go cheap on the spacer. I mean, these are expensive spacers, billet aluminum, and they're specifically made for a Ford 5-lug, 4.5 by 5 lug.
Right.
You know, they're not real sloppy. And,
well,
they fit in there really good, so I think he's going to be all right.
We do have the front wheels for it, but we haven't, or the owner hasn't gotten the tires yet, so we're still rocking the spares.
Yeah, we got to get the tires.
Yeah, we got to get some rims for this thing too. We actually put the other set on here, but they actually don't fit on the hub all the way, so
yeah,
it kind of walks a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a true 5-lug style or Fox Body style 5-lug rotor, right? That's a swap. These rotors are an SN95 rotor and spindle, so that's why these wheels actually fit.
Right.
But the hub is a bigger hub on the Fox Body swap.
Right.
We didn't go with, everybody does an SN95 5-lug swap. We didn't go that route. We actually went with it's a Fox Body 5-lug swap. It's got the stock spindles and all that. So
right. We're also going to be doing a rear end in this thing. We're doing the same gears, right? Because it had 355s,
yeah, which would be fine for that motor. Sure.
Right. We already painted up the rear end. If you didn't see that in the last video and you're interested, go click right up there. We painted it up, put all the new suspension components on the rear end, and the only thing that we have left is the diff cover, which we basically waited on doing because we're going to put a new rear end in it. So it's rusty back there. We're going to put the new diff in it. We're going to have axles.
So we're actually putting a Yukon gear 31 spline Aussie carrier in it. Big boy, there to handle the power. 31 spline axles. They're going to be 5-lug. And then we've got the rear disc brake kit going on it. We already got all the brake lines ran for that.
Right. Well, we're going to have to kind of wait on that if we ever want to get this thing on the ground again and pushed around, which I don't think that we really need to because it can pretty much stay on this rack until it's done.
Yeah. So we're going to be, so this thing here, we're just going to finish it up. These were the problems that came up on this car wasn't known. Like we pretty much put the motor in, we fired it up, got everything completely done on the car, and he was going to take it. Well, then we found out the rear end was, the torque boxes were damaged.
Yeah.
And then, the AC thing. There were just a couple of things that we have to finish. I wish the heck that heater core tube wasn't leaking.
Yeah, I know.
Man, we got to pull all that back apart now. That was a brand new piece too, but that happens. So once this is done, which should be done in just about 2 or 3 days, there's not much left, then this one is going to be completely done.
Right.
I'm not bringing in any more cars until this is done.
Yeah.
So we should be able to finish this in about a week.
Yep.
Still have to purchase a couple more things, but for the most part, we got a lot of stuff to do on it.
Yep. And while I'm here this weekend, I'm going to pretty much focus on this car. I think Dad's going to try to get this thing completed today. We might get to start tearing the rear end out today, but we're probably not going to finish it up by the end of the day. So if you all haven't seen it yet, this is my Fox Body here. This is my second car ever, and it's pretty much entering its 3rd stage of build right now that we've done on it. Before it used to have like a stage 3 Cobra setup, almost kind of like what this had, but it had the stock style GT40 heads, not these awesome 11R heads. But we did put those 11R, the 190 version, those are the 170s, 11R 190s on a 331 that we put in this car, which was pretty much the second build. And that's actually one of my most popular videos. Like, how much power can you make on a NA 331 build? But the 331, it was a pretty awesome build. It ran really good, but the thrust bearing started going out in it and couldn't really run it like that. So we ended up taking that out after, what, 2-3 years of hard running, 200 plus track passes and 5,000 plus street miles on it.
And the only thing it needed was a crank. The thrust bearing pretty much, you know, wore out after a while. It had too much play in the crank.
Started eating into the crank once it got into the hard metal of the bearing.
Yeah, that's just because, you know, launching it off the two-step at 6,000 RPM at the track.
Yeah.
Time and time again.
Yep.
And it's like, well, since you took it apart, might as well just do it 363. So.
Yep. So we did a Dart 363. It was running at one point, but we had some piston valve clearance issues, and it ended up breaking a valve tip, or the valve, the bottom of the valve off into the cylinder wall. And it was a little bit of a catastrophic failure, but luckily it didn't really tear the engine up all that bad. But we sent it off to Schaffer Off Racing Engines, which are the people who built it, and had them kind of redo it, refix it, and it's pretty much a fresh engine again. It's just been sitting under my dining room table, been waiting to be put back in the car. But Dad promised me that we're actually going to get back to this thing after this Fox body right here is done, because you know, we pretty much need a lift. We're not going to be going back on the ground after working with these lifts now. But this car was pretty much built from the ground up on the ground and on jack stands. So the plan for this car, if you didn't know, the 363 build, it's going to be a stick shift car with nitrous. So we do have the Nitrous Express sponsorship hooking it up. Great company to work with, and it's been a pleasure dealing with them. We were going to be running their plate kit that goes on the pushrod 5.0s, which actually replaces where the EGR goes. And this one doesn't have it because it's a Cobra intake, but there's a plate on the stock Fox bodies that go right about here. It's like 2 inches wide, and their plate kit replaces that. But after figuring out what intake we actually want to run for the RPM that we want to twist out of this thing, I don't think that that's going to work. So we're going to be going with, I'm pretty sure we're going to be going with a kind of like a carbureted style 4150 intake. It's still going to be EFI, of course, but just that kind of flange. And then Nitrous Express actually has a flange or a plate that goes in between called the Assassin plate, and that thing can spray a lot more nitrous than what the other one can. The other one's only about 250 shot, and I was wanting a little bit more. So the Assassin plate, I think it's rated up to 600.
Oh, really? Is it 600?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice plate, man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't got it yet. I wanted to see that thing.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out if we're going to have hood clearance problems. I don't think that we are with the intake that I'm choosing.
If you are, just have to get another hood.
Yeah. This one is kind of cheap. It came on the car when I got it, and like, although it looks good from a distance, you can kind of tell just based off of the lights how wavy it is. It's just some kind of cheap fiberglass, but I'd like to replace it eventually. It does have like this chip that Tin Soldier race cars put in it, but they compensated me for it. Little accident, I'm not mad. And then that one was actually from road damage.
Yes. But yeah, so I think we're going to probably end up using, like, the lower intake will be the
Edelbrock.
It's the Edelbrock Victor Junior.
I think it's Victor, just a Victor EFI intake.
It's a Victor EFI intake, which is good to like 8,500 or something.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
Which pretty much what we're kind of hoping to twist out of this thing to make the power.
Well, the whole with the heads, and I mean really the whole setup with the springs and all. I mean, you got what's it, a 728 lift?
728 lift, and
roller.
Yeah, and
it's a thumper, man.
and the valve train's rated at I think an 850 lift at 8,500 RPM, or 800 lift at 8,500 RPM.
Yeah.
So we should be pretty good. And I had to get the heads rebuilt or just kind of freshened up. They did deck them a little bit, so we're going to have even more compression. Let me go ahead and show you the inside if you haven't seen it. It's all factory interior, minus the Tin Soldier Race Cars 850 cert cage. but I'm really happy with the way that the car looks on the inside. Every time I uncover it from the covers, I just get a little bit more enthusiastic about actually getting back to it, because I'm tired of just recording all these other cars and not having any fun with our own. And this thing's going to be a bad unit once I actually get it done. Enough about this car. If we keep talking about this car, we'll never finish that one. So if you want to see more on this build, once we actually finish it, or once we get to it and start racing it, then subscribe. We're going to have plenty of videos coming on this thing once it's actually done. Alright y'all, we're back on the second day. I didn't record anything really yesterday because we got a lot of work done and we were able to, since I wasn't really focusing on recording. I'll go ahead and show you the progress we made yesterday and show you what we're getting into today. So we got, actually, did you tighten this one up already?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I just took the valve cover off because it's easier to get to.
So we got the long tube headers in. They're not tightened up. Well, this one only has 2 bolts in it. This one, Dad's actually going to tighten up here in just a little bit. Reason why we're keeping them loose is because we don't have the clutch yet, and we can't put the bell housing in. And we just want to make sure that we don't have any interference with the bottom of the long tube headers with the bell housing, because we do on my car. But it also has a different brand of long tubes. They're not as wide, and it has an SFI bell housing, which is really big. But as you can see, we got most of the accessories on the front. We couldn't put the alternator on because we're actually going to get the alternator rebuilt, but we have the bracket on, and then we have the power steering pump on with the what is it, remanufactured, or
Yeah, it's a
remanufactured power steering pump. And then put the pulley on just now. Got the rest of this all done. AC's on.
Power steering hoses.
Oh yeah, power steering hoses are done. It's really coming together in here. If you remember in the last video, I talked about these little divots that you put on the block.
Little divot.
And that helps the gasket. Well, not even a gasket. It helps the silicone grab onto the block surface.
Yeah. Or the gasket. We use the
gasket. Yeah.
We use the ones that come with them, and they don't slip out. Of course, we put a little silicone, you know,
On the edges.
we kind of put a little bit all the way through it, and then a good dab on the edges. And we do the same thing on the lower intake,
Right.
and they never blow out. So
Right. So as you see, we have the intake gaskets on here that go to the head. We're just letting them sit up. We put a little silicone on so they actually stay in place.
yeah, just a little bit here, a little bit here and here,
Yep.
and under there, just enough to in the corners too, just so because they'll just drop down.
Yeah.
So you let that set up for, I like to just really push on them, let them set up overnight really. And that way when you put the intake on, they won't slide out.
Yeah, because you want to line up the ports as best as you can
Yeah.
to where the gasket isn't blocking the ports. And this gasket was actually pretty good compared to some of the ones that we've seen.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to like just pretty much take the lesser of 2 evils, or just kind of put it in the middle on where one of them isn't blocked off halfway and the other one's only blocked off a quarter of the way or whatever. But this one was pretty good. We got it right in the right spot.
A lot of times you have to trim them up. Trim them
Yeah,
and make
that
them-
too. So I actually have the lower intake out over here. This is the lower half of the TrickFlow R series intake with the 80mm throttle body opening on it. So it actually has the 90mm opening, not the 80. I was confused on that, but this is what it looks like. I have my punch and a hammer. I'm going to turn this thing over and do the same thing on the bottom of this, and I'll show you kind of how it's done. Okay, so what you want to do on the bottom of this lip right here and on the back lip, pretty much take your punch with a sharp pointy end on it. I always like to go kind of outward of where anything might fall in, especially when you're doing it on the block, because it can fall into the lifter bed. But go right around here. I'm going to see if it moved. I don't think it's going to. Kind of hit it just a little bit, get one kind of punch down to where it grips, and then kind of hit it outwards so you get an actual lip where you can feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty much every ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, an inch, whatever.
Is that one pointed?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's make sure it's got a good.
Kind of want to try to aim for the center of it too.
Oh, that's pretty good.
You think so?
know, and it's good to have water right here so you can see it, you know, vibrating there when you know you got a good lick. It's a good lick.
In case you need to get hydrated halfway through.
Yeah, all that work.
This is a tiring process here. And then you want to do a couple right here.
Get out of here.
And then you want to do the same for the other side. So we have the finished product here. That's what you're aiming for. And that should help pretty good. So they actually sent the wrong gaskets with the engine, which is weird. Those are for a 302, and this is a 351. So it's a little bit bigger. We're gonna see if we have any gaskets like that, or we might just use the silicone, which we have the correct silicone. You want to use like the black right stuff silicone, and just make a big thick bead, because the gap between that part and the block is pretty big. So you want to use a good little bead. We might have to resort to that. I also forgot to mention, we took that heater core hose thing off of this intake. Got it all done, and gonna pretty much just order another one from LMR, hope that it works. Now we actually have to take the other one off of this engine, and also the different sensors and stuff. This is the engine that came out of this Fox body here. We're gonna take those components off of the stock intake there and put it on this one before we put it on, because it'll be a lot easier. So we're switching everything over to the intake. This is the old one. As you can see, it's a little faded now because I scotch braided it. I'm gonna go ahead and paint it up, and we'll just reuse this one, because this one actually is good compared to the one that we just took off of the 304 that we bought brand new. This one, 31-year-old part, still good. We got the plugs in there, the brand new intake air temperature sensor. Tank tip. Brand new. Does that look brand new? It's not brand new. It's the original one. And then show them the coolant temp sensor.
Yeah. Look out. It's brand new now. What's up?
Yeah.
And
we'll show you how to make them look like that.
yeah,
It's not too difficult.
this is what they look like. That's what it looked like before. Look how grungy it is and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, let me do it real quick. Real easy. So, I need a new wheel. Look how wore out that is.
Well, we've been cleaning everything up on it.
Usually right here. Yeah. Just like this. Tech tip. Really don't need to do anything with that. Let's go ahead. Get the old stuff off.
Yeah, you want to do that part anyway, to take the old sealant off.
Yeah.
Look at that. Then
There. Looks like a new one. As long as it works,
yeah,
why buy a new one? When you, I mean, you want to make it look like new, right?
Right.
Because we're doing a new motor, making it look really nice. You don't want to put no grungy sensor in there.
well, that's why we're going to paint this up too.
Yeah.
All right, so we're about to put the intake on. We had to run to AutoZone and get some things, but we also got the radiator and fan in. This thing is really nice. I might need to get one of these for my car. This is the Mishimoto with dual fans.
Mitsimoto?
Mishimoto.
Mitsimoto?
He has the biggest problem saying this word. I don't understand.
Mitsimoto.
You say Mitsimoto is what you say.
Oh, Mitsimoto.
Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah, intake's going to be going on here in a bit. What else did we do? That header's tightened down all the way.
Yeah, that one's tight. I got to put the dipstick tube down in there and bend it up nice.
Oh yeah, we got a bolt for the idler tensioner or tensioner pulley.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
really nice.
the intake is pretty much ready to go. We did have to take this plug out back here because this is actually where we'll be putting in our intake temperature sensor, which I have lost. Oh, I think it's up on the toolbox. Yeah, it's up on the toolbox over there, I think. But it goes with this controller.
Yeah.
And we need to actually put that into the intake because the options for that is either an intake temperature, or not an intake, a coolant temperature sensor, or a probe that goes into the radiator.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do the probe.
Yeah. Coolant temp is actually better. So
we put a new PCV valve on it. We weren't really thinking that we were going to be running a PCV valve on this car, but
I think for now we will.
Yeah.
The only other option is if we did like a catch can and have it mounted up underneath the fender so the fumes,
right,
not an old catch can that goes in line, but an actual catch can. But
yeah.
this will be fine. We'll do that, at least to keep the engine from.
We got the this coolant temp rod, whatever you even call it, I don't even know, but I got it painted up.
I call it the heater core.
Heater core tube?
Heater core tube, yeah.
We had to get a thermostat. That's why one of the reasons why we went to AutoZone. But put that on there. That's all ready to go. I mean, all these sensors,
look at
everything's
that thing
tight.
Clean, man. That's the original one that you cleaned it up and painted it, boy.
Yeah, I showed them.
Things looks good.
I just have to do a little touch up because I should have actually taped off the threads and then painted it.
Yeah, you can't even tell.
But yeah, I'll touch it up once it's all on the car. But yeah, this thing's gonna be going on here in just a little bit. We already got the gaskets. Dad actually had a pair of 351 gaskets that came on probably another kit for the intake gasket kit, because I guess when you buy them, you get the 302 and the 351 ones.
Yeah, because these are the same, and the only difference is this. And there's a little bit more thickness between the intake and the block than there is on Chevrolets, so it's always good to use this. As long as you dimple the block like we do, and then I put a little thin of silicone, and then same on the top, and we've never had one blow out.
So you do silicone, gasket silicone?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to. We definitely got to put some in the corners.
Yeah.
But I do. I just run a little bead just
to make it stick.
Yeah, and we'd never have them blow out.
Yeah.
With a lot of crankcase pressure. So
cool. So this is something that we found odd. These have 1.65 roller rockers.
Yeah.
Never really seen those before, I guess.
I guess it just depends on, what cam, so.
Yeah. Ford Performance. Again, this is a Boss block, Ford Performance Boss block. You can actually see right there, it says Boss 351, although this is a 427.
Yeah, stroked out.
Stroked out.
Pretty nice though. It's got every freeze plug is all screwed in. It's even got, that's an oil galley plug there, I believe. Might be a freeze, but
I mean, it has the freeze plugs screwed in on the side. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, even the side ones are all screwed in.
Yeah, there's one, and there's the other. Usually that's just like a pop-in freeze plug, but these are all screwed in.
Yeah, even on
really
the front of the block and the back of the block, they have big ones that screw in.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. That way you can totally drain the block.
Right.
Just unscrew them and drain them.
Cool.
Was that the way your dart was? I think your dart had them too.
I don't know. I never really paid attention to that. I don't know. I think it has regular freeze plugs.
They need to change it.
All right. Well, this intake's going on. Gonna be a good step in the right direction. One thing that we did want to mention: sometimes when you're putting intakes on these cars, especially, some of these holes, or some of where the threads go, actually go all the way into the coolant passage.
Yeah.
So as you can see, this one, the front two and the back two don't, but all the middle ones they do. So if you can see through into either the coolant or the oil, well, this one's going to be the oil, right?
Yeah,
this is all oil. So yeah. But if you have anything like that, then you definitely need to put some thread locker on there. We use or thread sealer, yeah. We use the white high temperature Permatex thread sealant, and you just put those around the threads. These are the 4 that's going on the front and the back. And then these 8 are prepared, and they have the sealant all on them. So just a nice little liberal amount. And then you're gonna put those in the right holes and pop it down there. Okay, so as you can tell, the intake is not on, and reason why is because we need some thicker intake gaskets. These right here, these are the ones that came with the block, right?
Yeah.
So they came with the block, and they'd be good, I'd say, for a Ford Performance intake, but having this Trick Flow one, for some reason, whenever we sit it down, it sits like lower than what it should. When you like move it left and right, which you can a little bit before you actually tighten it down. When you move it, if you kind of center it in between, then whenever it's sitting down, not even tightened up all the way, the intake comes down like this. You can actually kind of see the line where it sits. Well, the top of it was pretty much like right here, up underneath this blue sealant part. And it was like that pretty much on both sides, where it was almost peeking through on the top on either side. And once you tighten it down, I mean, your heads, they're going to be leaking through here when the intake's on. Yeah, it'd be a crazy vacuum leak. So we're going to go ahead, pull all this gasket stuff back off. I already pulled the corks off, but we're going to pull these off of the heads and try to clean it up before the silicone really sets up. And the way that we're going to solve this is by getting thicker gaskets. So if you have this plane thicker this way, this side thicker this way, you're also going to have to fill this up a little bit thicker because of that. But if you do that, then the intake itself will sit a little bit higher, and then that will make sure that whenever it squishes down this way, squishes down that way, that it actually doesn't have any coverage, or it has all the coverage around the ports.
Yeah, I think it. Well, I think it is. I think this Boss block is a taller deck height, like the old school blocks, is what I'm thinking. So that would make sense. If it's a taller deck height, it's going to cause, this is basically for a late model 351.
Yeah.
So this is for the shorter deck height block. So that's why they sell gaskets. They sell these gaskets. I did notice this gasket was kind of thin looking compared to some of them, but
yeah,
they do make them different thicknesses just for that. So.
Right. Well, I mean, you know what, it probably is because, I mean, the water pump that came on this thing and everything was for like the carbureted style. So
yeah,
that's a good point. Well, not going to be able to finish this thing up today. It's no problem. At least we caught it, because that would have been a major running issue, and there'd be a lot of stuff that we'd have to take back apart. But we caught it. Pretty much whenever you sit an intake on like that, you want to, especially one like this, with the runners, these runners right here on the top, you want to look through the runners. Of course, it's upside down, but you want to look through the runners and look at the ports and make sure that the ports are lining up with the ports on the heads. And we were doing that, and we were noticing that we were seeing like the bottom part of this gasket here, but you couldn't see the top part of the port on the head. So and you could see it on both sides, so you knew that it was sitting a little bit lower than what it should. And then once we actually got it to the point where we started tightening it down just a hair, like I said, we were seeing this blue gasket sealant part poking up on both sides, and it was almost poking all the way through. And as you can tell, right on the bottom of that sealant is the port, so there wasn't much room there. And instead of taking the chance and putting this thing back together the wrong way, we're going to go ahead and just cover it all back up, get those gaskets and put it on there correctly. And then we also have the new valve covers that we're going to be putting on. Probably be waiting on that as well, so we'll just cover this whole thing up, make sure nothing gets in, and come back another day. As far as the 304 goes, again, it's tore apart. I think Dad's going to tackle this week, make sure that we can get another coolant tube or heater core tube, whatever he called it earlier. Get one of those and make sure this thing runs right with no coolant leaks, and then this thing will be done. But this thing will definitely still be here next week when I come back again. But that's going to do it for today. I'm glad we got a lot of stuff done. You know, we made a lot of progress on this car. We got this one teared apart for him, just ready to put back together. So he's going to have a little bit of a head start this week, which is good. We actually, when we were at AutoZone, we saw a guy in, what year do you think that was, like a 70?
Yeah, it looked like about a 70, 71.
71 Dodge Challenger, and thing looked pretty nice. He said he was having a little bit of an issue with it. We gave him a card, and he said he might come by, so he might actually be by later today. I don't know if he's going to bring the Challenger or not, but you know, we might be taking a look at that. So if you're interested in that, or you're interested in the rest of these builds, or if you're interested in the drag racing that we're going to be doing with our personal cars whenever we get it done, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. We're getting new subscribers every day. It's really cool. Thank you all so much for supporting. It's nice being able to, you know, have a platform to be able to discuss all these things, share tech tips, and you know what we're building in a shop and everything. And it helps out business too, which I'm sure Dad likes the free advertisement that he's getting here.
Tech tip.
Tech tip. But that's gonna do it for today. Thank you so much for shout out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in another video. Hey.
Tickety tap.
Give him the old.